they're not neighborhood-based anymore, not community-based. You don't have a place, in a sense, to do service. You spend all of your time in a car driving back and forth and on weekends to this tournament and flying to this state for this tournament and so on. So some of that could be changed to structure in more of a community connection.
Yeah, I think, my 2 cents on this would be little things matter. Our team signs autographs after the game, win, lose, or draw every game. And we try to impress upon them the importance that they play in role modeling for the young people who come to our game, particularly the young girls that come to our game. And we ask them to be very engaging and to look them in the eye and ask them their names and, what position do you play and what's the name of your team, and to engage in our community and to be positive role models, be positive citizens. Our team has a goal of trying to be the community service here at Santa Clara University is integrated into everything that we do, but to be the community service leader in the athletic department. We try our best to get our team out there in the community and make a difference. Back to one of the points that Lori was talking about earlier, here at Santa Clara University, our alumni office has a new project called Illuminate. And in Illuminate, there's thought leaders, and the thought leaders all write different articles. It's really interesting articles. I feel honored to be part of that group. But I wrote an article on there talking about there's no I in team, maybe there should be. And it's kind of, and here's my point in the article, and you can look it up on Illuminate. I think the biggest mistake that coaches make is they talk to the team too much. And when you talk to the team, you effectively could be talking to nobody. And so the most important part of my day is the individual meeting. I do 3 to 5 individual meetings every day with players on my team. And I'm trying to understand how to connect better with them. What buttons can I push with them? What things should I stay away from? How can I integrate their personal goals with group goals and team goals? How do we find that common ground there? How do we create a goal setting situation where this student believes these are my goals, I'm really invested in these goal setting? It's also an opportunity to just connect one-on-one and show how much you care. I'm a tough coach. I'll be very honest with you. I have very high standards. I am a tough coach. I don't hesitate telling you that it needs to be better. But the reason I can do that is because I invest a heck of a lot of time in building my relationship with the student athletes on my team. They know that I love them. They know that they can trust me. If you can build that trust and establish that love, and I think it's done one-on-one, then you can be a tough coach. And I think that balance is an interesting one. And the reason I bring up the team setting there is because I think most of us, particularly in youth coaching, we connect on the team level a lot, but I'd love to see us connect a little bit more on the individual level. And I think you can get a lot more out of your team by connecting more to each individual on the team and building that love, building that trust, and building some open lines of communication. Teaching sport is no different than teaching anything else, and people learn different ways. You got to understand how different people learn. And this approach might not work for another student on your team, and it's in those individual meetings where you kind of get a sense of how to do that.
Jerry, just a quick answer. There's got to be a lot of pressure. You wouldn't be here 29 years if you lost every year, had losing season. So how do you deal? Because I think this is a big problem that youth coaches have. It's like they want to win, and how do you deal with that pressure of you want to win, and yet you also want to create a caring environment, relationships, etc.
Yeah, I think it's really goal setting and focusing on the controllables. It's amazing how goal setting can really relieve stress. We really, let me explain that. Each student on our team always has 5 goals, and we change those goals. I don't think I've ever had an individual meeting where we haven't tweaked a goal, changed a goal, erased a goal, added We do that every meeting we have. Maybe it's just a minor tweak, but the goals have to be appropriate for today. They have to be appropriate for that person. They have to be appropriate for this stage of the season. And it has to make sense. And by having these goals, it gives us some things that we can really focus on. And by controlling the controllables, it really reduces the stress. We cannot control winning. Just like I don't let players set goals in confidence. Hey coach, I really want to set a goal in my confidence. No, we're not going to set a goal in confidence, just like we're not going to set a goal in winning. What is it that's happening that's causing your confidence to take a hit? Let's set a goal in that area. Maybe you're not confident because you're not completing a higher percentage of your passes, so we need to set a goal about looking away from the ball before it comes to you, so you're more aware and you can complete a higher percentage of your passes. Therefore, you're now feeling more confident. So I think it's the goal setting and focusing on the things that you can control and taking your focus off the things you can't control that allows us to manage the pressure and stress.
Jerry, what strikes me about the goals is if each player has those 5 goals, if you have your own goals, and one of them obviously is winning, but if you lose, but you're doing well against those goals, that gives your ego a place to go where you don't have to feel like a total loser because the team won, because you're moving along. My 5-year-old son just started, grandson started, I wish, just started kindergarten, and he has this fabulous teacher, and she has the kids cut out pictures of eyeballs from the magazines, and then they put them on this can, and whenever a kid says, I can't do something, he says, go over to your I can. Jerry, you mentioned earlier the National Soccer Coaches Association, and I just want to say we've got a lot of distinguished people in the audience, but I want to mention Lynn Baring-Manuel, who just became the CEO of that organization. Thanks for being here. Let's open this up. What's the system here? Do you have a mic?
No, but
Do you have a loud voice?
my question and comment is that I find it very fascinating. I'm Gary's wife, but I'm also a coach of our 9-year-old boys. And this is more to Lori and Jay. So, but actually, I want to add Jerry into this because, we have discussions about how I should approach coaching 9-year-old boys.
Thank you. And as a former professional athlete and competitor, I have an inner desire to teach them the skills and to have them replicate those skills under pressure. And so we spend a lot of time on repetition. But I had something happen yesterday that I think goes to a lot of what you were talking about, where one athlete blames another athlete for an outcome, for a goal scored against. And we immediately stopped the scrimmage, and I said, okay, this is not an appropriate response to a moment. And I asked the kids, who makes mistakes? And immediately they all said, we do. We all make mistakes, so we can't point our fingers. So the sociology of this environment is, how can I empower each one of my boys, and maybe it's through goal setting, to understand what it's like at times to be the leader and at times to be the follower? And can I give them those moments? Is it important to give them those moments in practice where I step away and they are in charge? And would that foster them being more either understanding of each other and then respectful of each other at the same time?
Well, I think that in some ways what you did was really great in the sense of stopping play and pinpointing and talking about. So you made it a teachable moment for them. And so that I think that coaches should do more about being intentional about the life skill piece. You mentioned repetition, where with the physical skills that you're doing a lot of the repetition piece. And so one of the things that I've become really interested in is how coaches are using that notion of repetition and practice life skills. And so how can you, within a practice, identify a particular life skill and then being able to use those teachable moments or to role model those. And so this notion of having goals that you set that are focused in on the life skills and then using that as a platform when you have those moments in practice or in competitions to be able to do that. Whether it's after a game situation to give a shout out to a player and say, you know, what you did really there focuses in on what we've been talking about, good sport conduct or respect. Really appreciate how you did this. And so to engage in value in regards to that. But I also like the notion of stepping back. One of the things I mentioned is this overregulation of sport and allowing them to be leaders. It's hard to say at the age of 9, right, where to let that kind of come into play in terms of their own cognitive development. But I think it's important to be able to have them recognizing, giving them opportunities to do that. I had a conversation with a tennis coach. She said one of the things that she does after every tennis match is that she has a time where she talks about what went well and what didn't go well and emphasizes the goals. But then she steps back and she gives an opportunity for the seniors on the team to also do that. So she places them in those leadership roles where they can actually do that as well. And I think Jay can speak more to that notion of unstructured play.
Yeah, I think one of the other strategies would be to provide your 9-year-olds with opportunities to play. And what I mean by that is to create their own activities in smaller groups, not the whole team at once, but we need to infuse play more directly into our practices and even into our games in some cases. But once children learn to play together and to create an activity together, they're less likely to blame one another for something that happens